Well, hello, music multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio. This is Of Sound Minds. This is usually where I just, we take a topic and there's really no framework, but this one kind of does have a little bit of framework. And we've had this discussion before, but not like we're going to have it today. So tonight we'll talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of 2026. What's wrong, what's right, and beyond, because it's not all wrong, and at least that's where I stand on this. When you take an institution of this nature, when did they start? 68?
The
No,
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
yeah,
83.
83. Okay,
Oh,
maybe I
even
had the
later.
six eights and yeah.
Yeah,
This, oh,
the actual Rock and Roll Hall of Fame itself got feet in 83. They started inducting people in 85. The brick and mortar was 95.
Yeah, brick and mortar 95. And we got we talk about this, we're going to get to this, but kind of different topics within this because there's a lot of things going on. And I want to keep it civil. So we didn't invite Jeff Crichton and we didn't invite Ray. No, they just couldn't make it. And I can read the decree from Mr. Crichton, and I believe I have stuff from Ray too. I'll have to look at that as we go. So basically, to be eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, an artist must have released, excuse me, their debut, whether it's commercial or independent, 25 years. So just stick with that a second. That means they had a record. Doesn't mean it was any good.
Record.
9 or 7 albums later, they can still be eligible on that date. So if you made an album in 81, let's say, and your album in 87 is a masterpiece, you can still get in, even though 87's 25 is more years later. Anyway, just making my point and confusing the hell out of the crowd that's watching. So that's it. Demonstrating a musical excellence, influence, and impact. This is where it kind of gets a little dicey, okay? Because there is a subjectivity to it, but there has to be, okay? Because we can't go down the road of favoritism, popularity, all right? Otherwise, all the inductees this year would have been K-pop. That would have been horrible in my ears, but not to some, not to others. And who knows? I don't. Has there? I didn't. I would assume there's no K-pop band inducted because they haven't been around 25 years. But when the Backstreet Boys get in, oh, the shame. But that's my opinion. Now, 55,000 leather pant wearing mothers over the age of 48 will disagree with me. But they'll also go across the street to see Bon Jovi. Anyway, I'll stop. It's getting out of control. Eligibility requirements, that's 25 years, okay? That's the thing. There are no strict requirements of record sales, chart success, popularity. Those factors, influences don't it's right. So induction criteria, there are some, and if you were to go on the internet, there are some people that have put out facetious ones, like you had to be on SNL.
Right.
Oh my God.
And I was like, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. You had to be on SNL. Yeah, I'm just all the bands are just chomping at the bit to be on there. Playing a shitty studio. Yeah, whatever.
Hey, the hip would get it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they would get in, right? Yeah. Well, there's another idea, huh? So while the Hall does not have those rigid 25, besides the 25-year requirement, musical excellence. So we're talking about skill, innovation, artistry and performance or composition, or even live, okay? Because there's a little bit of that juxtaposition going on here. Influence. Influence is my favorite of them all, okay? Because that kind of leaves aside certain things of record sales and but it does include that innovation, it does include that skill, because if you don't have those, how could you be an influencer, right? Unless you're that influencer who said, wow, that sounds great, I want that band, oh, that sounds great, and nobody knew who they were. Then you're kind of an influencer, right? As a record mogul, if you were to be that way. Longevity is another one. We can, there are, if you can sustain a career these days that goes 25 years to this date still, or 40, 60, you know, there would be a lot of bands in there just for the longevity. We can talk about that. Cultural impact. That's another great one. Kind of goes on the influential side. Inspiring fans, leaving a lasting legacy. It's possible. Critical acclaim, commercial success. While not mandatory, the awards, the hit records, recognition does obviously move you a little quicker up the ladder, I would say. Michael Jackson probably didn't have to wait as long. But then someone would say, was that rock and roll? Okay, now we're getting to that point. Here's that thing, that genre. This is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It should have been called that? Should it have included certain people, discluded certain? It still to this day does disclude an entire genre. All right. Maybe even another that I haven't even thought of, but one in particular, which is really weird. So I'm going to start the discussion just there so we can briefly deal with that, because that seems to be the number one bone of contention, in my opinion, for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is when the inductees are listed. People are offended that under the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, there might be a listed individual that doesn't really touch the genre at all. I don't know if these are in alphabetical order. Maybe they are. The Black Crowes, Jeff Buckley, Mariah Carey, Phil Collins, Melissa Etheridge, Miss Lauryn Hill. I don't know why the Miss had to be there. I'm assuming that's to gender identification. Billy Idol, In Excess, Iron Maiden, Joy Division / New Order. Oh, okay. You can only get in on a double bill. New Edition. So New Order had to go in with Joy Division, but New Edition got in gets a chance all by themselves. Oasis, Pink, Sade, Shakira, which must have been right at the 25-year mark. Isn't she like 27 years old?
Right. Yeah.
Luther Vandross, and finally the Wu-Tang Clan. So that's your list of the people, bands, artists that were of the 30 to 40 members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This was the final list after that. So they get together and have this moment, right? Now I ask the panel, shouldn't that be televised? I want to see them argue. I want to host it. I want to have all of them there, and I want to be able to like have a spitball and just like say, person says this person, I go, and no, peace flute, no, that you're.
Yeah, I was good with the tranquilizer dart.
Yeah.
Well, you go to one of the major lightning bolt issues with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is the lack of transparency in the voting process.
Like the NHL.
You don't know who these industry professionals are. There's musicians involved, there's historians involved, and they do a fan vote. You
I
know
like
what
the
the
fan vote.
fan vote counts for? One vote. So if you have 100 voters, 99 of them
Say
get a
99 of them, and then the
99
one.
of them get a full vote, and then the billions of fans that all come in, they get one vote. So
Oh, okay. See, I thought that they had entered the realm of the fan vote as that's the fan vote of the year. So when I'm looking at the list, I always assume that, well, then I thought that's how Bon Jovi got in.
that the fan vote is one of it would be like everybody in Buffalo having a vote for the Hockey Hall of Fame, but there's a room of 10 people that do the act sports writers that do the voting. There'd be
Okay. And you
11
get,
votes.
so 10 million votes means one.
10 million means one. So that's
Wow.
and that's one of the issues is that there's not the transparent like how they vote. Why do they, I mean, I'm sure we'll head down this rabbit hole, but Wu-Tang Clan. Is Wu-Tang Clan rock and roll?
I
Now,
would.
some will argue yes. I will argue no. Um, but again, to your point earlier, when it was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that set the mold in the concrete, and you put it in Cleveland, which is theoretic. I mean, it was between Cleveland, LA, New York, Detroit, and there was one other big Chicago, maybe. But Cleveland won out because Alan Freed basically decreed, he was the DJ that kind of started the term rock and roll. And Cleveland became that city, and that's how they got it. And, if it was called the Music Hall of Fame, sure. Put Run DMC in,
Well,
put
well,
Tupac in, but it's not.
well. Here's a fun thought I had leading into the show, because I look at it how you're saying it. I always thought rock and roll, be literal.
Yep.
I don't know of any sort of rap Hall of Fame, and you can argue whether there shouldn't, is there enough people, but it's that criteria. You can go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, the way I rationalize, just looking at this year's nominees, Wu Tang should be in a Hall of Fame.
I don't disagree with that.
Of somewhere in their genre, with their legacy, like that. That's in my mind. That's like a layup right there.
Right. Right.
Um, the only genre, and you guys might know more about the Hall of Fame and who's made it and everything like that than I do. The only genre that I know of that has any sort of Hall of Fame feeling, um, or has one or whatever, country music.
Right.
You can either say I think they have a Hall of Fame, but if they don't, I'm counting the Opry.
They have a Hall of Fame. They do.
Okay, because if not, I was going to say I'm even counting getting inducted into the Opry and becoming a member.
That's an entirely different. Yeah.
Different, but I also feel like in some way that's some sort of cathedral-y Hall of Fame vibe to it
Yeah.
too.
Right. Right.
And you don't see that genre encroaching in the rock and roll side, even though there's an element of you that can argue a country artist into that. Case in point, Johnny Cash. I've heard this guy cover Depeche Mode. I've heard him cover Soundgarden, or vice versa. No,
And he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, that's the only case where I really see a country artist that kind of encroaches in that. Other than that, not a lot.
So let's take
some more.
He is a great example of why I believe Wu Tang might have been a inclusive band artist for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because their music influenced some other artists who are rock, who are rock and roll, but they are rock and roll rap, and
agreed.
That would be Rage Against the Machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, huge. Public Enemy. You know what I mean? So when Public Enemy, that was like, okay, that makes sense to me.
Because in the past, we've easily our gimme putt of a thought was always Run DMC because of Aerosmith, yada yada. Like that was always kind of
the crossover.
Yeah.
Right? There's the crossover links, right? So crossover is a huge thing. That's what country's dealing with now because they have crossover now, and they're kind of. I don't know whether they're snooty about it at all with the rap country or whatever, but obviously that happened to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where they just like this is something that began that sale of rap and country outsold rock at a certain point.
And in a similar vein, another one that'll cross over. I know they probably haven't hit. They could have probably hit their 25 years, but Beastie Boys.
They're in.
They're in.
So yeah, I mean that's another one.
Wasn't too long ago they were in. Wasn't too long ago.
That's what I thought. I couldn't exactly remember. I don't really follow who made
2012
except for the times when they're announcing it. But like that's another one. It's such a heavy rap influenced group, and they make it on
Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Yep.
Run DMC, Public Enemy, NWA, Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z,
Jay-Z,
Eminem, Missy Elliott, A Tribe Called Quest, and Outkast are all members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I
Now,
think
Outcast, you can see that, right? Because he would even be nostalgia rock and throwback 60s,
right.
with whatever Haya or whatever, that. So there's a musicality and actually, instrumental. I guess what I do is I look at that and I go influence, and um that
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. But there are some that don't. There are some that don't. I don't know if Dolly Parton makes any sense to me, honestly. I'm not
You know,
sure.
I here's my thing, and I'm going off of what you were mentioning with criteria for the Hall of Fame. I wonder, and I don't know, because I don't hear, if it's not the country music genre, I don't hear anybody mention her from the rock and roll side. But I could understand her being in the influence or being heavy there.
You're talking about country rock.
I'm just thinking, even of like,
She's no Johnny Cash.
no, I get that, but I'm saying she is one of the first females of the industry to be as big as she was.
Is it because and then there's those other things.
And I don't
Somebody
know how
else,
much that
somebody else
factors in of
singing her
like
song,
female.
somebody else singing her song and making. And of
Right.
course, let's just blow something else up out of the water that I'm sure if the other two were on here would be flippant with me. But the Beatles rock and roll? Are they
Sure.
pop?
That's
Well,
a wonderful question.
and as
I
but
at
as
a
great a
certain
point
point,
as as great a point as that is, if we're gonna again, I'm gonna play the influence card on this. If they don't come over and do what they did here, in what they did, I mean, who knows where that leaves the Stones? Let's trickle down the road a little bit. Who knows where that leaves the Who? Let's trickle down the road about a bit from that. Who knows where that leaves Oasis? Like there's a generational thing that the Beatles kind of kicked off with that invasion
yeah,
that
I don't get me wrong. The
immediately
Hall of
starts spiraling
Fame-ish
in my
thing
head.
to them, we're talking about the genre
Mm-hmm.
discrepancies that people don't like. I don't think
Right.
it's that huge a deal because what I see here is not overly egregious.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to name one of the most influential singers of all time, and he is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he shouldn't be. And it's Frank Sinatra.
Well,
Okay.
I was tying the Beatles into other rock and roll bands
Right,
and
but
trying to make the link that way.
the art of crooning is in rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
trans.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's so you could. There's an art there. The what 7 degrees of separation or whatever, 6 degrees of separation. That this it's a. I think it's the weakest argument for the nominations. Technically, I think it is. Anyway, I don't care about the genre. I care more about the the influence, the skill set, and what they mean because we can't put everyone in, right? Dolly declined, by the way. She tried to decline. She wound up taking it anyway, because somebody must have told her why, and maybe she understood it. Okay, it's fine. So that
At least there was a justification there on that from someone else.
yeah, Garth Brooks is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
So the lightning rod in all of this, the inclusion of uh, different genres into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the non-inclusion of things, all can be tied back to Jan Wenner. All of it.
Yeah,
He was
Elaborate more for me because I'm
so
like,
Jan Wenner, longtime editor-in-chief of Rolling Stone magazine. He co-founded the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation in 1983. That's the body that oversees nominations, oversees the induction process. He was the chairman of that board for decades. And a lot of the critiques that you hear are that because he was the flag at the top of the flagpole, he defined what rock music was, and he had a lot of influence over everything. And as went from the beginning, there was three things that you could find in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees that were pretty ironclad. white male oriented album rock, singers, songwriters, and serious contributors, and a big bend on 60s and 70s classic rock. Those were what put you in the hall.
Mm-hmm.
Then 2023 came, and New York Times interviewed Wenner about the process. He made a comment that suggested that black musicians and female musicians weren't articulate enough to meet his definition of a rock master. That comment got him removed from the board of directors. And I'm of the opinion that due to that comment, the scales of what's acceptable in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the beauty of all this is that it can be argued.
Yeah, yeah,
Music's that important to folks that if you got to argue who's great about music, sign me up all day.
yeah.
But that had
I quit
him
my job
removed,
today.
that removed him from the board of directors. He acknowledged, that, he apologized, said his words were badly chosen. He still has influence because he is who he is, and
Mhm.
you know, he's just been around the music industry and has been one of the bigger hitters in the music industry for going on 60 years. Um, and I think that had a lot to do with, what you see, you see, you know, the Mariah Careys of the world, the Shakiras of the world. I just personally, and I'm sure the two guys who aren't on would agree, they would not consider that rock and roll music, and I don't. But I also see the argument of they are music, and you could the beauty of rock and roll is it always comes back to everything else. Blues music, gospel music, everything kind of it's the great bouillabaisse. Rock and roll is the bouillabaisse. Everything else came into it and made it what it is.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
talk
They
about
reinvent
Aerosmith,
itself.
you talk about Wu-Tang, you talk about rap music. Look, think about all the clips and cuts of rock music that are the little
Used
pieces in I like what was it? Is it
Eminem, Billy Squire,
Eminem, Billy Squire? Is it Wu-Tang or not? A Tribe Called
Tribe
Quest
Quest,
uses Lou Reed.
De La Soul using Daryl Holland.
Yeah,
Uh,
so it all ties together. Do me being a Hall of Fame snob, like we talked about before with any type of Hall of Fame, I just don't. Does it belong somewhere? Sure. Is it the Hall of Fame? I don't tend to think so, but okay. That's quite all right. And there was folks early on that when the concept of a rock and roll Hall of Fame and museum started to get legs in the early 80s, there was a subset of people that said having a museum and a Hall of Fame for a music form like rock and roll, which was anti-establishment, anti-rails,
mhm.
anti-everything, kind of has a punk mentality. We don't want a museum. We don't need a museum. We're free. That's not us. And that's a strong argument too.
Yeah,
That
Yeah. I mean, I think seeing the artifacts that built that foundation is a cool element to it, though.
I think the museum's I think the museum's outstanding.
Correct. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with that. I think the other end of it, too, and this is maybe a more optimistic rather than just trying to find something to rail on about the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Something I like is that we haven't diluted the pool yet. Like, we're looking at this year's nominees,
Yeah.
and there's people who aren't even going to come close to getting in. But as I look at the list, I can understand. If I look at Phil Collins in my mind, I go Hall of Fame worthy in my mind.
Right.
Whether you like Billy Idol or not, in my mind, I go that could be a Hall of Famer, sure. Iron Maiden, wow, how are they not in? Is kind of where my mind would go. Oasis is like, oh shit. I mean, feels a little soon in a way because I feel like they're still in the progression of their career, but I'm like, okay, that's That's a Hall of Famer in my mind.
I think
And,
Phil Collins as a solo artist only getting in now is a gigantic snub.
Absolutely.
I
and then as
mean,
I look at Wu-Tang and Vandross, I'm thinking in their specific genres, I'm like, those are Hall of Fame names in my head.
right.
I like that I can look at this list and go, okay, I'm glad that we're not picking from the bottom of the barrel where we're going, I don't know. We're out of people to name. You know who's gotten this way almost? And it's funny, but like I look at the Baseball Hall of Fame nominees the last 2 years,
Yeah.
and there's a reason why two people get in because I'm looking at it going, who the hell of you deserves to get in?
Right, right. And the difference is that their election process is not transparent. It only becomes transparent when it gets close to like a unanimous nomination.
Right.
Everybody's got to tell who they voted for to get to the 75%. But Phil, you bring up a great point with Phil Collins. I think Phil Collins' first solo album was it No Jacket Required in 82?
No, his first solo record was Face Value in
Face
19
Value, that's what it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Was what year was that? 81?
81.
So he's 18, 19 years been qualified?
And this is his first nomination.
This as a solo.
I
Genesis.
don't know if it's
Yes.
his first- I don't know if it's his first nomination.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia.
Even
That's what
so,
it
it's
says.
got to be close. It's got to be close to 18, 19 years that he's been
1981. Yeah,
eligible.
1981.
Okay.
Looking at Wikipedia right now, they're saying first nomination is this year.
It's the greatest drum fill of all time.
100%.
It's the greatest drum fill of all
100%.
time.
100%.
And it's now 2026. The man cannot play.
Right.
You just
Right.
screwed, not him, because he's in the Hall of Fame. He's never getting screwed. What you've screwed is everybody who could have seen him play at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
At an induction
And
ceremony.
that's what pisses me off. That is my number one hatred of this organization is how it's taking too long. If it's inevitable, it's inevitable. If Radiohead is already in, and it's respectable, don't get me wrong, then Phil Collins should have been in. Not only that, the drum fill, he's one of the greatest songwriters of the 80s. There's no one even close, I don't think. Maybe Elton John. Maybe.
I'll give you a great example as well. Last year, Chubby Checker went in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Chubby Checker was eligible for almost 40 years, but he's effing Chubby Checker.
Mm-hmm.
He's part of that. I mean, God, you talk about an influence. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
How does that guy not? And Ray and I, it's a good thing Ray's not on here because when I bring this up, if he were here, we might not get to work tomorrow. He and I talked forever and ever about the fact that Bad Company took as long as they did. I mean, they waited 25 years after they were eligible.
Okay, I'm going to use a younger person's opinion on this too. I'll use last year to this year's nominees. Last year, Joe Cocker makes it in. Now, again, this could be me being younger, but for me having Mark back me up on this from knowing me for years, a fairly wide range of interests in genre, in era. I'm not really specific to one. It's just what I'm feeling. Trying to take that independent. Joe Cocker means nothing to me in comparison to Phil Collins, Billy Idol, Iron Maiden, Oasis, in that rock and roll specific area.
If they were nominated that year against him.
But in my mind, I look at that and I go, how the hell's Joe Cocker in before any of those names I just named?
Because
you would have people in my generation saying, how the heck does Radiohead go in before Joe Cocker?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
which is another fair point.
Yeah, it's really generational.
It's generational. Number one, in that I can probably argue my way in and out of all these things. Joe Cocker, no influential albums whatsoever. They're all remakes of other people's songs. Okay, it's the voice. It's that, and how the power of it, the influence of that, the resoundance of Janis Joplin in a male version, okay, and the antics and stage,
Okay.
thing. So and how long it took to get him in
Yeah.
makes sense to me. Okay, I think his biggest selling album, probably above Mad Dogs and Englishmen, is probably number one. Number two is probably Unchain My Heart.
Which was from the
80s.
middle 80s.
Yeah, mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
And that's because production qualities and changes there made sense. And he wasn't doing Beatles songs, and he wasn't he did
No.
Yeah.
he's done Prince, he's done, and to get those people to let you do those things, you had to be
Yeah,
Joe
David Scott.
Cocker or
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra or other big name people to do that. Celine Dion, Barbara Streisand.
Yeah.
These are what those people do,
I
really.
think I think just in my head, like as far as the selection criteria goes, and I'll just use a recent example of NASCAR for just the
Mm.
sake of this. Kyle Busch just died.
Yeah.
Hands down, factually, one of the winningest racing drivers
The
of the Pro Series,
the
of all time,
winningest of all three series. He's won more races than anyone ever.
of all those combined.
Yep.
And my first thought is that guy's got to go in the Hall of Fame.
Put him in now.
The next time up. I mean, granted, you couldn't have predicted he loses his life at 41.
Right.
But
And
you're
there's a precedent there.
Right. But I'm immediately, the first thing I think in that is, and I'm not saying NASCAR drivers mid-career go in, but I'm saying with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's like posthumously, if they hadn't hit the 25-year mark, put them up for nomination then by that point, because they shouldn't have to wait 25 years with a member that's been gone for 5.
Yeah, I would like to see them
That's
lower
one
that
rule that just
that
needs to go.
timeline for the entertainment purpose, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because number one, those shows, okay, they can be there are misses, okay, but the misses are never in the music, okay. Even if it's a miss in the music, it's still somewhat entertaining. It's the speech and the person who inducts them that can be a little wrong sometimes. Jim Carrey. And
I was just about to reference that. I'm like, why is Jim Carrey doing Soundgarden?
It's okay. I mean, to some degree, maybe they don't have control of these things, but I love that I do this. And one of the things I'd like for them to do, and this is kind of this beyond thing, I do believe that when a person is going to be inducted, I believe that should be sold as a box set. All right. But not the show. I don't want the show. Okay. I want that to live with where it was, like a live show. They could sell that, but I want the artist covering them to do the album, like the borrowed tunes from Neil Young from Canada. I'd like some artists on that, and then they could sell the shit out of that stuff. I'm telling you right now, David Grohl does a cover of this person does a cover of that, and then Bad Company kind of thing, all that. And that to me, that makes record sales, that makes interest, that leads to things. And I would like it to be
it's like
that
the
it's
album
connected to. I want it connected to youth. I'm not really interested in what I have to say or what Steve has to say, because we already know how great these people are. What has to happen is the newer people on the planet, Gen Z, it has to open arms, right? And oh my God, I didn't know that. Who is this
appreciate
guy?
something
Who
with
is
a
the
more
Guess Who,
relevant
right? And why
example.
aren't they in the Hall of Fame?
Well,
because they're Canadian? What? No.
Well, a great example for me is the album of Tom Petty hits.
Yeah, the country one. Yeah.
The country artist did. If you're someone who maybe was strictly country your whole life, and I don't know how you didn't hear Tom Petty, which that alone that's another problem. But if there's that person who all of a sudden hears all of his favorite artists in one genre covering a legend and goes, holy shit, maybe I need to listen to him more.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right.
And that backs your example perfectly.
Yeah, I like the show. I really do.
Takes a voice from my generation who I can go see live, covering someone that, we'll use Tom Petty for example, I can never go see.
Yeah.
You know who does it really well is the Kennedy Center Honors.
Yeah, they do a nice job.
Yep.
Because you hear, I mean, Hart covering
Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin was phenomenal.
Mhm.
Um,
That's a great point too.
those shows, the induction shows and the music are typically very well done. And it used to be, I mean, they were doing induction shows before the museum opened.
I believe that is the case because Robert Johnson
That makes sense.
was one of the first inductees, and he's a blues musician. He's not a rock and roll guy.
So the first four were Chuck Berry,
Hmm.
Ray Charles. I'll look it up. I used to know them off the top of my head.
Or
Um,
was Robert Johnson the first one inducted at the actual ceremony at the actual Hall of Fame opening?
I think that is
Th-
the
That's
case.
the case. Okay.
Yes.
But there is an influencer. There is where it came. There's the heart and soul
Right.
of the lyrical composition and the position, the social position of an artist, right? You know, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah. Okay. I like happy. That's good. But where's the sad stuff? I want anger management. I want to know the social status of somebody. I want what's going on is what I want, right? And
Right.
and those not everything can be happy and yellow submarines and shit like that. So now I've offended every Beatle fan.
Now, you are right that so there are categories in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Correct.
So you have performers, you have early influencers, and that's where Robert Johnson got in.
Yep.
And you have non-performers.
Hmm.
So the first crew of performers were Chuck Berry, Ray Charles, Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, Buddy Holly, Fats Domino, James Brown, Sam Cooke, and the Everly Brothers. Which even leads more to my argument as how is Chubby Checker not one of those guys?
Because they already had someone's fat in there.
Correct, correct.
By the way, to pause before you continue with that list,
Yeah,
without naming anybody that it like using Chubby Checker, for example, that should be in,
yeah,
I just hear that list and I go, first class of them? Okay, makes sense.
yeah.
And was it 25 years? I don't think so.
No, no, no. Well,
61? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but wasn't the first time like baseball Hall of Fame class some shit like this? Wasn't it
Babe
like
Ruth.
Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb,
Yeah,
Walter Johnson? Like,
Well,
yeah,
they had to put Ty Cobb in, otherwise the bar wouldn't have been open.
yeah. Cy Young.
yeah,
Um,
like the names that like just should have been in. You can picture them immediately. Garrett,
like this list. This list is that. I mean,
right?
this begets, and
I'm just
then
drawing parallels, one Hall of Fame to
Yeah,
the
that's
other, and
definitely a
that's
good.
perfect.
Yep.
It's
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's your foundation.
yeah, yeah, and everything begets that. Um, yeah,
Now, I will say there's my difference between the two because baseball is just easy to use here. It's Americana. I'm just going to stay on it. Uh, we can never have had that induction and go, hey, let's have a home run derby with them based
right,
on the age they went in. The
right.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we're pressed for time in the sense of Phil Collins
Mhm.
can even perform.
Well, he can, but
I
he'll
think
sit.
that adds a
He might
different
be able to
element.
sit and sing, but he's not gonna be able to play the drums. And
Right.
So the concert for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was in '95 in Cleveland at the old Municipal Stadium, was a sight to be seen. I mean,
Mhm.
But that's just, it's a different element. We're not having in a sports
but
hall
that had,
those
I
guys
mean,
perform again. We are
Chuck
here.
Berry opened it.
Yeah,
Chuck Berry was the first performer singing Johnny Be Good. And it went from, I mean, gosh, it was a who's who.
yeah.
And
It wasn't. They didn't do it as a ceremony. It was a concert. So that
it was
was,
a
you know
concert.
what I
It wasn't
mean.
a ceremony.
Now it's a ceremonial concert, and
Right.
and
Right.
they talk about the person, then they get them perform with other people because obviously they're too old, generally speaking, to do it
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it's kind of a cool merger of the young versus the old, and
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So having that been said, okay, just to go back to these are the people that are going to be inducted: Phil, Billy, Iron Maiden, Joy Division, and New Order. All right, so New Edition didn't make it. Sorry.
Right.
Oasis, Sade, Luther Vandross, and Wu-Tang Clan. Okay. So I can pretty much understand everybody but two for me. Okay. I have every Sade album. I love Sade, but I don't believe there is anything there that leads me to skill, influence, um, and I'm gonna lead to something. This is why I want to telecast. I want to be in the room. I want. It's like a hearing. It's like a congressional hearing. That's it for me, right? So Sade is up on the Mariah Carey, Pink. These are people there too, right?
Mhm.
How is Tori Amos not on this list? This is influence. All right. This is a woman who played the piano in a solo rawness and delivered one of the most stunning a cappella songs and proved her point of rape. And here she is still today, 25 more years later and more, doing this. And this album is ridiculous. It's a double album. It's the best female album of the year right now. There's nobody even close. But she's not on that list. I don't even think she's been nominated. Maybe she has once, but Sade over Mariah Carey, I'm not certain about that. I probably would have had Carey there because she's got the historical, charts. Okay, she has a voice that is it's her own. Okay, she's the only artist in the history of music to have dolphins follow her on cement. Um,
And all I can hear at Christmas.
okay, the Christmas song. Maybe that's why she's not on because of that Christmas song. Yeah, simply, yeah, no, no.
But you know what? Fun fact with this that I just heard this week. Dave Grohl was doing an interview and he told the interviewer, you'll never guess who Pat Smear's favorite artist is to listen to. And the interviewer's just going down the list and he finally goes, oh, and he goes, Pat can't get enough of Mariah Carey. And I'm like, what?
So yeah, Pink. I understand the theatrics, the
Yeah.
singing too, the carnival, the
too
everything.
soon
Like
for
if
me.
Motley Crue's in, Pink can get in, right?
I don't have a dispute about Pink getting in one day. That one, because she was also my generation, that one feels way too new.
It's because
I don't want to visit Pink until Iron Maiden can get in.
Where are you when it comes to Sade?
For Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, no.
No.
No. And a lot of this comes back to, you know, we
I'm
live
still
in
listening, by the way.
Buffalo.
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Go ahead. No, you can still.
Oh,
He
okay.
said he's
Yeah,
listening.
still
Go ahead.
So we live in Buffalo, where every time that there's a Pro Football Hall of Fame vote, 100,000 people go to their computers and say, why the hell is Steve Tasker not in the Hall of Fame? Steve Tasker did one thing, special teams, and he did it better than anybody ever did, but he doesn't get in. So Ian Anderson, who plays rock flute better than anybody ever did, is not in the Rock and Roll. Ian Anderson is the Steve Tasker of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because Jethro Tull still is not in. Jethro Tull, I mean, they've been eligible since 1993. They're not in.
So Iron Maiden probably same time, right?
Yeah, around, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be 93, right? Probably got it here somewhere. Iron Maiden, they waited 21 years
Okay.
from their first.
From
So
there first. Okay.
yeah, so Jethro Tull's a little
A
longer.
little older. Yeah.
And I mean, the bands that aren't Styx, I mean, Styx back when I was a kid, Styx was all that. And
King Crimson.
King Crimson's another one, 94
Rock.
they were eligible.
Immediately, Six is like, how are they not in to me?
Right.
But you made a great point with Tasker.
Yeah, I mean, there's another one. I mean, so when a punter goes in or a kick returner goes in, we're all like, what?
Like the guy from Chicago, did he go in?
Yeah, Hester.
Devin Hester, yeah.
Yeah,
like
see,
what
that
the
makes
hell?
sense.
Like, what are we doing?
Where's Dante Hall?
Right, Dale. Right, or Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Arsenio Hall? What?
Well,
So
Dante Hall was Devin Hester before Devin Hester by like 3 years.
right, right,
Mhm.
right.
And then, oh, Hester was a little bit better of a wide receiver than Hall was because Hester can kind of play out of the slot. But that's another whole debate right there. We're talking about the Lou Grosas and the Ray guys.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
So I turn this back to the idea of these weird inclusions to make up. It's almost like a referee making a bad call and saying, all right, now we got to make up for it. It's like Russell Crowe losing the Oscar for In the Insider, where he actually played a real person and sounded like him, looked like him, acted like him, and then they didn't get the Oscar. It went to went to Tom Hanks for. Oh my God! Don't even start. Um, he won for Gladiator. What, really? I mean,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. I like acting that's real, not CGI. And don't get me wrong, it was a great performance, but these
It's
are the
like
things that
Steve
happen. The
Harvey naming
makeup
the Miss
calls. The
America
makeup
pageant.
calls.
right.
Well, it's like Steve Harvey naming the Miss America pageant to the wrong state woman.
So let me ask you this question:
All right.
if there's a rap Hall of Fame, does Aerosmith go in it?
Well, now here's the precedent you got to eliminate.
I'm what? Okay. Yeah.
Well, here's the precedent you got to eliminate. You would almost, and I would say if there was a buffer of 5 years of the rock and roll and the rap Hall of Fames being open within each other in this alternate universe where there is one.
Yeah.
But if you just started a rap Hall of Fame now with all of the buildup the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame had,
Yeah.
you can't reverse that at that point.
Right, right.
So I
right.
don't think you can make
Good
that
point.
direct correlation back to Aerosmith making it into that. However, I would love to see the duality of making that for a Rage Against the Machine, a Beastie Boys,
Anthrax.
Yeah, like you can just start going down the list of ones that could make it into this. You know who I would even
Vanilla Ice would get in.
No, you know what? Here's where I'm going to throw you for a loop. You know who deserves a thought in that? Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Tell me they aren't rapping in 1 week.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or other ones they've done. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like the first one off the top of my head that I'm like, you wouldn't think it, but it's there.
Yeah, but the point is, so here's how if hindsight is always 2020,
Right.
but looking back, it's still a bit fuzzy. Now I'm going to get sued by the headstones. So I believe if there's enough room in Cleveland where they are, make it a music park, not an amusement park. So why is the rock and roll roller coaster ride with Aerosmith at Universal?
It's not.
It's
Well,
closed now. It's gone now.
And it's gone now. Now it's the Muppets.
Yeah. So now that I'm saying you got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame over here. You got the Rap Hall of Fame over here. Start charging, have the parks merge, create a monorail. Actually, it wouldn't be monorail is a band, so they could sponsor it.
That could be fun. And by the way, I know a certain property that's opening up coincidentally near the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, they're good. Are they burning Cleveland Stadium down?
Well, they're going to be tearing down the Brown Stadium to build the new one in the suburbs.
Okay. I honestly, I would go because I liked my experience. Now, again, I went a long time ago, and they didn't have a lot of the interaction that they do now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the institution, museum wise, and maybe the flow of it, I didn't, but they might have changed that. Is great, and I think a lot of our generations on this show always appreciate it, get something out of it, and it's not a $300 to go. You know, it's $299.
Well, you know what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is? It's everything that the stupid friggin' cafe restaurant tries to be. I don't want to see your 6 guitars on the wall, and if I sit in this booth 2 or 3 times, I see the same damn shit.
Oh, the Hard Rock?
Yeah,
the Hard Rocks. That's what
we knew what you're doing. Yeah, Tim Hortons Cafe. What? No.
Go donate them back to the friggin' museum.
Yeah, I do. I mean, and then I do like the idea, as in a museum, is like, well, this is what we're featuring this year, right? We're doing the U2 exhibit. We're doing the
Right.
UB40, you know,
Yep.
and only
Which
40-year-olds
I
are in
have to
there.
say, having gone pretty regularly, they do that pretty well, where they
Hmm.
shift up. They had one of the times I went, they had a really nice John Cougar Mellencamp one. They've had everybody.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to add to that too. I mean, a sports museum to do that all the time, very similarly.
Mhm.
Like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame being no different than this too.
Right. At the end of the day, I'd like to think, as we argue all these points, it's kind of reflective of what rock and roll music kind of always has been and continues to be, where it's a little untrustworthy. So there's going to be an insider bias when it comes to the voting process. They're going to undervalue the input of the fan vote. There's not going to be transparency to what they do. And it's a little raunchy and a little done wrong. And isn't that kind of what rock and roll music has always been?
So, yeah,
A little crazy, a little weird.
yes, yes. My first thought that comes into this, and it was to my point earlier, I mentioned we haven't diluted the talent pool. My worry with the way music is going, and you're not going to feel this effect right now in the next 5 years, you're going to feel it in 10 to 20 years. I feel like longevity is going to be important. It's not just going to be these, especially in I should put it this way, the streaming era artists
All right.
who sustain something beyond X amount of releases.
Well, there's a worry there in the streaming side because there are artists that have a ridiculous streaming of a song, like beyond like reproach.
Right.
Okay, I can't even name the artist right now, but it is not of a rock and roll nature. It is rap, hip hop ish kind of thing, but it's always the I can't think of the guy's name. My daughter went and saw him. It's like billions and billions of streams, but it's that song
Drake?
over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Is it Drake?
No, God, no. I know Drake. This is somebody who wouldn't
Oh.
even you and I would not have any inkling. I did listen to the whole record. It's one of those people like it's little something, you know. But
But
um,
here's my thought is like, you know who survives that streaming era? And maybe they were just before it anyways, but like Nickelback. I think they would survive that.
well, I think any artist that has a physical, tangible copy and a connection to something does. This streaming thing, there's no connectivity. There's not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of who might have came in like kind of after
It
CDs.
is look at Netflix and Tubi and you like there are people that you have to get through in order to even find somebody behind it, right?
We're
So
coming up on a generation that will have never stepped foot in a movie theater.
yeah,
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
yeah.
Or
It's
every
a
time
shame.
I've been to
It does,
one,
and will it dilute the pool? I'm hoping it doesn't. I think it's
or
the
every time I've been to a
responsibility
movie theater,
of the
there's no one in it.
it's the responsibility of the people like ourselves as moving forward is to educate and to showcase. I'm not trying to slant someone's opinion. I'm just trying to tell. Like I'm gonna. So this is where we'll end our thing. We'll start to talk about the people that are not in the Rock and Hall of Fame as maybe,
Yeah.
and then we'll okay. So my point to this is people we love the 60s, 70s. I have no problem with their elitistness. Okay. Um, Jimmy Page, um, you know, other artists at the guitar, or John Bonham, or Janis Joplin, Robert Plant. When they sat down and they were in there and they go, check this out, it was easier. It's truth because now we're in the year 26. Okay. Everything has been kind of not done, but it's back then they didn't go, you know who they sound like? They didn't do that shit back then. because it
Yes.
didn't sound like anybody else, because there wasn't 900 bands and there wasn't a
Yes.
history of all this. So here's my I'll
Even
start-
people comparing a Led Zeppelin band currently.
Correct. So I am going to make one of the strongest comparisons here, and then I'll leave it to you guys to go about all your other ones, and I'll mention theirs. But I have only one strong, compelling argument to make regarding your love for somebody and your understanding and your appreciation as to how talented they are, but they will never be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, probably because there's already people there that have done this. Okay. And that mine is Jeff Martin and the Tea Party. They will probably never be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Jeff Martin is a better guitar player than Jimmy Page. And Jimmy Page knows this. Okay. And a lot of other people know this too. But the fact of the matter is, it's already been done. And the creativity of a man doing stuff now, what's Jimmy Page done in 20 years? Nothing, just playing with the Black Crowes, and I mean, that's great. Morello got up on top of it. Morello was out with Springsteen. All right, he did a killer Tom Joad. The solo was ridiculous. Okay, but this is maybe he's the only one that steps out into that huge stratosphere like people like Buckethead. But it's too weird. I'm just talking about that he will never be in. So I just had to realize that it is what it is, right? And that's okay. But I will always champion that band, and they'll be in the Canadian Hall of Fame. They'll be in the Australian Hall of Fame, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that's my.
It's a great point.
So to you guys, and you're like, oh, why not this?
I mean, the first one that's going to come to mind for me that I don't envision making the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and maybe it's our bias of the Leaf, but how can you not say the Hip wouldn't be in? Imagine a band so big in a country that neighbors us, that so much so I got the friggin' channel the night this happened, that when their lead singer is dying and they are performing their last known concert, shuts down the Canadian equivalent of NBC, CBS, ABC to perform.
Like a president was talking.
Correct.
35%
A band
of the
shut down
population
their
of the,
biggest channel. Like
35% of the people in their country watched that.
there were people who didn't even know who the Hip were. That was their first time.
And the anniversary
Didn't
of it
even
is
like
coming up,
the
and it's probably
genre.
going to be another 35 million or more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it'll be this August. Yeah.
It's just like, to me, and it's a low-hanging fruit for me because, I mean, Mark, that's our basis of our connection almost, is that band.
This is a great point, because there I am at the point of championing in them to kids in a locker room talking about a 50 mission cap war helmet and as a locker room speech before a pregame show to 12-year-olds. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
I'm a crazy individual, but the people around them, the adults in the room were glued as well to the story, my discussion and where it meant and what it means.
Yes.
And Bill Barelko and all that stuff. So the idea, the nostalgia of it, one of the greatest things that I'll say, and I believe it was said by Rolling Stone, somebody can put in the comments or whatever. They said probably the greatest bar band ever.
Well, and then another element of this is you can't say they didn't have a shot at success in America when they were on SNL.
Yep. Well, I mean, Canadian host for the show too. Yeah.
For all the Canadian bands though that we champion, and in our slight bias to our access to that music, not a lot of them even got to that point.
Correct.
Not to acknowledge that as a criteria for the Hall of Fame, like that one guy did, is something a little bit there. But
as much as I agree with you that they belong in a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, there's a selfish part of me that likes the fact that they're ours. And if nobody else catches
on, do not disagree with this.
If nobody else catches on, F them. They're my band, and they're your guys' band, and they're everybody around here's band. And if nobody else caught them, shame on them.
Yeah.
Good.
You know what?
Good.
But that's a great point. I do have a little bit of sentiment where I feel that way too.
Yes.
Or I like the fact that whether it's you guys who got to see them, or it's me who didn't, but appreciates them and has clamored for every way to listen to them.
That's the
it's
idea of
still
commercialism.
there's still that fun element that you can tip somebody off to them who didn't listen to them,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
in my generation, finding someone else my age that likes them too. There's
Right.
still a fun nugget to that
Right.
where I'm just like, you listen to the hip? Oh shit. Like
Right. Right. Right.
it
And
is like, like you're saying, there's
I
a
have the
little
good
club there.
fortune I have the good fortune of having a child that was force fed the hip. So now I can go away peacefully knowing that it's going to go on.
That leads to an idea and band of similar nature and love and passion in their country. That would be In Excess being the other, but they were finally, this was their first nomination ever,
Yep.
and they
Yep.
didn't get in on the first nod. So who's to
Yep.
say? So
Yep.
Steve, you must have
Well, I've got the one behind me, which is you're right behind my face is Lowell George's jacket and guitar. That picture was taken at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the irony is that Little Feat, who could have gone in 1997, will be, what, almost 30 years snubbed from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they're ones that influenced everybody. The
yeah.
Eagles, the Dave Matthews, I mean, they influenced everybody. And I talked about Tull and I talked about Styx. Boston, I don't, maybe their longevity doesn't do it, but even some of the alternative band, Sonic Youth, the Pixies, who will be here in August, the Smiths. Motley Crue is not in, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Motorhead. I mean,
Yes.
they're a perfect example. Maybe not the B-52s. In the punk industry. I mean, they were gigantic. On the punk side, and
B-52 for punk?
well, not punk indie.
I would have
Maybe
said pop.
They were, you're only thinking about like one particular song,
yeah, like
whereas
Rock
Rock
Lobster.
Lobster is definitely
Because
that's a
when I
punk.
hear B-52s, I think pop just because of that
Yeah, yeah. But early on, they
to them.
were,
Yeah.
Private Idaho and
Okay.
that
and
type
and
of stuff.
and whatchamacallit, Sex Pistols are in, and that's only one album.
Right,
It's just
right. And they're maybe the bit, next to REM, the biggest band that come out of Athens.
yeah.
But yeah, it's it, and I'll go back to what I said originally. The fact that you know, when I was a teenager, the thought of a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, everybody talked about, and it'd be so cool, and it still is. And the fact that it leads to these arguments and these thoughts and this, it just shows that everybody just has such a passion for music and what it means to them and how they feel about it. And if it stems these type arguments, like they should be in, they shouldn't be in, it should be in Cleveland, they should do he should do another concert for. I mean, was it 1995 they did it? I mean, they passed a golden opportunity to do a 30-year one.
Well, and another point to that too is the Hall of Fame more about who's inducted, or is it artifacts and the museum aspect?
I
I
think the
think it's a lovely
museum,
combination
I
of
think
both.
you make a great point. The museum is more about the artifacts than, I mean, it has a really nice room in it with really cool plaques.
But I think there's
So
also that
everybody,
realm of like people, you know, kind of putting it more of like, hey, do we have artifacts from people who aren't in, but
right.
we associate that band with or artist with being great that isn't
Sure,
yet, but their
sure,
stuff's there.
sure.
I also think that um, we all know the power of video, right? We all know the power of a person speaking and saying something of it and reading something on a wall. I liken that to the idea of Tom Wilson of Junk House, he wrote a book about his experience, and there is a certain dedicated several paragraphs to meeting Downey and the Hip when they were kids, and that statement is like, what's your band name? Holy shit, that's a really good band name. So, and that having that connectivity of that time and that place, even though that you weren't there, he was there to tell you, here's these kids and they're doing Dylan songs that Dylan won't do, and Peggy Sue or not Peggy Sue, oh, not Peggy Sue, damn it. Nah, terrible memory. Don't get old. Um, so yeah, those kind of things that leave you to picking up I think that's the thing is like putting yourself there and understanding and appreciating that this guy's almost in tears reading this right from his book, and why would somebody do that? Who it's just a band person. Well, it's a little bit different than that, right?
Well,
And that's the
think
same for
about
anybody in that hall.
what it'll mean in August when they redo Kingston again.
Hmm.
I mean, it's going to take everybody back to that
Right back to
show.
that moment.
And if you get a chance, go to YouTube and watch them playing Ahead by a Century at the concert, but the camera is on different cities in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go to Nova Scotia, they go to Kingston, they go to Vancouver, they go to the Horseshoe. They've got cameras everywhere, and people are singing along, and you're watching people. And yeah, I mean, it's the power of music.
Yeah.
Just
Little
this.
Feat, great example. Obviously with Jeff Crichton, he's the Guess Who. There's another
Yeah,
Canadian
yeah.
thing. The list of hit songs are ridiculous.
Hmm.
He actually mentions a couple that I'm like, okay, they kind of in this Sade realm. I mean, they are rock, but they just did they have enough? I mean, he's got Herman's Hermits,
Hmm.
Paul Revere and the Raiders, Three Dog Night. I have a couple of cassettes and I like, but I don't know. Did they have an influence? Were they? There's an argument has to be made. That's why I said I want to really record. Yeah, I'd
Right.
love to
They
be there when they do that. I'd like it to be transparent.
so far of the three he's named, that would be the one that made me think the most.
Yeah, because that's the one you know. The other ones you really don't,
Mhm.
right? He did obviously say Los Lobos, which I would have an agreement of. There, obviously, he said there are four people that are not worthy of this in any way, shape, or form, and he might be. It's funny because in the beginning he talks about these elitists, and then then he starts to become that way as he starts to come down on the list. But yeah,
Welcome to
Luther
my hell,
Vandross,
boys.
Sade, Wu
Welcome to my
Tang,
hell.
yeah, yeah. So, but he just lost a dear friend at Warner Brothers, passed away last night. The
Hmm.
legendary Carol Hart was the heart and soul of the promotion department. Carol was, or is it Carl? Wait, no, Carol, right? Yeah, Carol was a den mother and confident with us all. She was that special. I still kept in touch with her. In fact, I was going to call her on this kind of the show, and but that's these are people. Sooner or later down the road here, I'm going to be talking about on an unknown Sunday the keepers of the kingdom, and it's not this museum, by the way. It's other people, but this museum's a great place to find that connection and those shows that come around every year where they do the induction. No matter who it is, they are worthy of the time stamp and the placement and the people that come to pay homage by playing with the band in some way, shape, or form, or participating one way or another. Some of them very articulate in their love for a band. I mean, even
You brought up Jim Carrey and how kind of goofy it was with Soundgarden.
yeah,
It was just the opposite when David Letterman inducted Warren Zevon. It was
correct,
completely,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. You could.
But
What do you
but
mean?
to
And
that
Letterman
point,
has a great connection to music because of his producer,
yes.
who was extremely good at getting people on there and
Yes,
informing Letterman and his music knowledge grew. And
right.
I was watching his guy has his own YouTube channel now, and I'm like, why is Dave Letterman on there, right? And they're getting
Yeah.
all this, and they got the Professor of Rock on there. The only thing I don't like that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame does sometimes, this is my only gouge to it, really, is sometimes they have a tendency to make up a category just to get a band in, and I don't think that's necessary. I just don't. Either they contributed something or they didn't. Even if you don't see it as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you just have to, if I do it all the time, I just reviewed Peter Frampton last week. All right, I'm not a Peter
Well,
Frampton lover in any way, shape, or form. I Comes Alive is a great record, but I just he hadn't done anything that I ever really thought was a great guitar player, ridiculously good guitar player, you know. But the new record's really good, and it's not because of the guests he has. The guests are good too, but it's about his commitment to it and how his son produced it, and it's connected. It's connected, and it's got different genres, and it's Bill Evans is playing saxophone on it.
well,
Sheryl
Frampton was
Crow.
another one.
It's a
Frampton was another one that took forever to get in.
yeah, yeah. Only because, and like I said, I could have started that article with the idea of saying he's going to have to eat humble pie. but no, that's not wasn't necessary.
Well,
I guess there are just there. So that I guess I'll leave you with this. Sooner or later, I first of all, my love for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame continues. Disregard all factoids and little fun jokes we're making here, and although the argument, it is an institution that has done wonderful things for music and will continue to do. And I'm hoping there's a charitable side to it. I really didn't look it up. I'm assuming there is because there has to be. You philanthropically have to give back to the
Right.
communities to get more music.
one of their biggest driving points is getting music in schools.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes absolute sense, right? And
Yep.
and not just, this that like it's not a religion. They're allowing it to be anything you want it to be. You can go any path you want. And I just don't want the Hall of Fame to be shaming people, bands, artists for their choices in what genre or what they do. I would assume to this point there is no band in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that has any growl vocal as their hardcore. I don't. I would assume not. I don't remember ever seeing a list, and I'm assuming that the people that are in there are frowned upon. Okay, they do, but eventually it's going to get in. There's going to be somebody down the line. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. There are some really, really, really good bands, but you got Static X, these kind of things. Electronica to the point of like, I don't believe there's any DJs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of
Yeah, it's a good point.
but should there be? Will that happen? Should Knife Party get in? Should
Skrillex.
yeah, Skrillex, right? I don't know, right? Transformer type of music. There's all kinds of genres. Jazz does not have its place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, although it is an element. It has jazz rock, it has fusion, and thank God it does. But one of the people who's the main staple of that is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is King Crimson. So that there's just all kinds of little things that could be like Jeff Cried makes a great statement. He says, if they just would put a few of these people in, it would start to ease that. Well, the Monkees, for example, although that's a more comedic, poppy. Is it an influence? I would think it does. Was there a skill set there? I don't know. That's subjective too, but there's always a place for these. And if you don't want to call it Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you want to modify the name somehow, or just I don't think you need to. I think you can find that inclusion. Dolly Parton, while we started off with that, I'm saying she sang Whitney Houston sang her song, so there's your connection going further on down the line. Other people have done Dolly Parton songs and made them rock songs, and vice versa. You made a great point about the Man in Black, and that is another, right? Garth Brooks is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's the only thing I got right now that I can really smile from ear to ear at this point. So just maybe it might happen someday, and I'll have to just go, well, all right. But I'm not going to burn the institution down. They have it's a wonderful place, and all these people can't have everybody in, but I would hope that when we make these statements and we show these other people that they're the people in the room that are making this decision, these 30 to 40 people, kind of take it back and go, who's not in that we've already had up and discussed first? Then tell me somebody new. Tell me some, and do it a little bit sooner so that we can see these artists play to a little bit, in a decent. They're not dying of cancer. They haven't lost a lung. They're not speaking out of a throat box. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever we need to be on social media wise. No, not everything, because I can't. What do we do? These articles, we do videos, this podcast thing I'm trying. It'll get there. But it's all about albums, bands, artists, all the music, no matter what. Jazz, fusion, classical, and there's something for you in this age-wise. Go to your elder, and I'm not talking about the band Elder. Your elder, say it could be Peter Frampton could lead you. I mean, there's no question. When Tom Morello was shredding with Peter Frampton, he was influenced by Peter Frampton. Okay, there's just no question. So Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Thanks for watching. I thank the panelists for doing this.
I'm
And
thanking my elder. Mark.
happy listening.